Okay, how did the Nazis attempt to control Germany once they're in power in 1923? They're going to use fear and terror. They're going to arrest all of their opponents. They're going to make sure that no one would dare to criticise their regime. That's the stick, if you like, of the carrot and stick. However, on the other hand, they do want to attract people to believe in the Nazi message. Hitler is not content to let people think whatever they like about the regime. He is determined to make this regime last for 1,000 years, 1,000-year Reich, and so therefore he is trying to embed the Nazi message into every kind of facet of society. Okay, the main method of achieving this is through propaganda. Okay, what does he do? As soon as they come into office, they begin to censor various media to ensure that only a Nazi message is allowed to come through. They make sure that any books that are not to their liking, written by Jews or communists, are subverted, are suppressed, sorry, and in some cases they organise mass burnings of books that they don't like the look of. So book censorship is one thing they carry out. They also make sure that every newspaper is friendly towards the regime, is positive about the regime. Any criticism is soon buried, is soon stamped upon. So newspapers are taken over by the Nazis. The radio is taken over by the Nazis. There is no criticism of the regime on the radio. Okay, how are the mechanics of propaganda put across? Okay, the head of the old organisation of propaganda is Joseph Goebbels, the chief minister of propaganda. He has studied American techniques of advertising, and he is brilliant at propaganda. One method they use is posters. Hitler's image, positive views of the regime on posters and billboards all over Germany, constantly being changed, a poster on every facet of life in Germany. Very powerful means of getting your propaganda message across. Okay, I spoke briefly about the radio. They suppress any radio messages that would be negative. They control the organisations that are broadcasting. They produce their own cheap radio, the People's Receiver, specifically designed and built and manufactured to be cheap so that people can buy it. Why do they want people to buy it? So that every home will have a radio inside it. This People's Receiver has a limited bandwidth so that people can't tune into other radio stations from other countries, the BBC for example, who might be broadcasting criticism of the regime. The radio is the prime media of the age, equivalent to our television. Everyone listens to the radio. It's a perfect opportunity to get the Nazi message across on the radio. And they ensure that sometimes in cafes, even in public squares, there are tannoy systems or loudspeakers put up so that people can listen to the radio or can't avoid listening to it. Okay, so the radio is very important for them. Also, the cinema is important for people at this time. Like today, it's a mass form of entertainment, and the Nazis take control of the film studios, the German film studios. And during their period in power, they produced over 1,000 films. These films are not all propaganda films showing Hitler and attacking the Jews, because they know that people go to the cinema to be entertained. So the overwhelming mass of films are comedies or musicals or dramas or love stories. However, some propaganda films are made. These include films by Leni Riefenstahl, who glorifies Hitler in Triumph of the Will, or shows the Olympic Games. Brilliant films, but definitely propaganda films, showing the Nazi regime in the best light. They also, I mentioned the Olympics. They also used the Olympics as a form of propaganda. Originally, Hitler didn't want anything to do with the Olympics, saw it as a Jewish celebration. But he's persuaded by Goebbels that the Olympics can be a brilliant piece of propaganda for Germany and show Germany in a brilliant light. And to an extent it works. The Olympics is very successful for Germany. Germany wins the Olympics. Of course, Jesse Owens is famously snubbed by Hitler because he disproves Hitler's racial theories. But overall, the Olympics are a propaganda success for the Germans. It makes it look like the Germans are succeeding in reorganising German society, putting on this fantastic celebration of sport. Okay, the Germans, the Nazis are fantastically in favour of rallies, these mass demonstrations of their power and their organisation. They have 1 week every year devoted to rallies in a place called Nuremberg, a purpose-built stadium that can hold over 100,000 people in a celebration of Hitler's power, his regime, to demonstrate the might and the weight of support of the regime. Their rallies. The Nazis are also interested in taking over culture, art, music. All of these things again will be seen through a Nazi filter. The Nazis disapprove of degenerate art, which is modern art, Picasso. All the stuff that is now worth millions is despised by the Nazis, with their emphasis on realistic art, which would portray, you know, the perfect Aryan family. Also, music is something that they take control of. They are keen on classical music or folk music, and they despise jazz or swing music. They associate with blacks or Americans, seen as inferior races. So almost in every facet of life, Goebbels and Hitler see an opportunity to push propaganda, to brainwash people, to indoctrinate people through propaganda. Okay, what do we have to remember? Propaganda is key to brainwashing or indoctrinating the German population. What do they use? They censor anything they dislike. Books and the radio are tightly controlled. Joseph Goebbels is in charge of the whole show. He is brilliant at propaganda. Posters, the radio, the cinema, the Olympics, the rallies, all forms of culture become vehicles for propaganda.